Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, conservative group threatens to sue over irregularities in Maryland voting records. Could it be there is election fraud in Montgomery County? Local officials want to impose new regional sales tax to help fund Metro, but others are saying enough is enough. And it must be election time. Montgomery County passes 3 new feel-good initiatives that will have absolutely no impact on your lives. Or will they? Stay tuned. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by the Dean of Democratic Politics, Sam Statland. Media consultant, Jerry Cave. Republican attorney, Diane Nash Dillon. And past president of Progressive Maryland, Elbridge James. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. Conservative legal watchdog group Judicial Watch said that it would sue the state of Maryland unless it takes more aggressive action to remove ineligible voters from the registration rolls of where? Montgomery County. Jerry, in a letter to the Maryland State Board of Elections last week, Judicial Watch cited data showing that there are more registered voters in Montgomery County than there are citizens of voting age. Judicial Watch contends that the state rolls are swollen by voters who are deceased, who have moved away, and who may not be even citizens. Is this something to be concerned about?
I knew about this 8 years ago when I ran for office. I'm looking at the voter rolls. I go to the house, door to door. I go, boy, they got 3 families living. They don't deduplicate the voter rolls. All you have to do is put in the addresses. They got multiple. You take the last one. But they will never do this because what they don't want to have happen is have somebody show up to vote and they have made a mistake and taken them off the voter rolls. Everybody is concerned about that. What the Democrats are concerned about is taking that third of the population that they have vote repeatedly, like the woman who ran for Congress in the 1st Congressional District and voted twice in Florida and in Maryland in 2006 and 2008. So when they say that it's not happening, there's not voter fraud, they just haven't caught it because they don't do voter ID.
That is absolutely Republican BS.
No, the person
The
voted
federal
twice.
law requires that you cannot remove a person unless a sample ballot is returned
voter ID.
cycle.
Voter ID solves it.
I knocked on the same doors that you did, and I saw the same registrations that you saw, where you might have 2 families in one home. However, it takes 2 election cycles by federal law to take somebody off of the voter rolls. That's number 1. Number 2, what you mentioned going in was of legal age, because Maryland law says that we register people prior to their eligibility to vote in an election, and that's why you have more people.
This is
who
a
are
high turnover
registered
area.
than
where
But
people
I
move
want to
their
go
There
with
is-
Sam.
Look,
Is
that
there-
voter ID
There
is
has
wrong.
never,
Sam,
ever,
is
there
there
has
something to be
never,
concerned
ever
about?
been in
Sam?
Montgomery County one incidence
They don't
of
check the IDs.
prosecution
How do you know?
of
Well,
voter fraud,
So I
nor
wanna go to
illegal voting.
Elbridge.
It is
Okay.
not happening. It doesn't happen. And
come on.
furthermore, the current president of the board, Jim
Sam.
Shalek,
You're cutting off
who's a
Elbridge.
Republican,
He's doing good.
agrees with me.
All right.
And I love Jim, but he's wrong.
All right.
He's not wrong.
Elbridge, is there a problem here?
No,
I mean, the fact is there are 24,000 people who show up on the voter rolls that shouldn't be. Is there a problem here?
if you're looking at today's numbers versus when the census was taken 7 years ago, there are going to be more people. If you look at every year, especially if you look at from the 2000 census to the 2010 census, you find that Montgomery had a greater increase. Montgomery County is increasing its residency every year.
So is this
the
just
census
is
is
just
wrong.
a stunt?
It's a stunt.
It's a terrible
big stunt.
All right, Diane.
Furthermore,
Okay, well,
wait a
it's-
second, one more point.
Wait a minute.
The Republicans this time are calling for removing Margaret Jurgensen, a nationally known administrator of elections. Usually it's the Democrats.
You know what?
Therefore, the Board of Elections must be doing a great job because both sides are not happy.
Diane.
Okay, well, I actually happen to like Margaret Jurgensen. I want to throw that out
There
there.
you
I've
go.
worked with her on many elections here in Montgomery County. And because of my experience in the Montgomery County polls, early voting, during early voting, during the primaries, during the general, there is voter fraud. I can
How
tell
do you know that?
I've
There is
seen it.
not voter
I've
fraud.
worked there. I have followed people out to their cars with their Virginia license plates and they've driven away. We have a state that will not allow any sort of verification of voters, no ID. It is rampant with fraud. I do love Jim Shalek, but he's absolutely
can
wrong.
check.
Party
Look,
politics aside.
I'm a chief judge.
I've seen
you
people
can check,
do it.
You can check. You can
How?
have challengers check.
Yes, and
You
I've
can-
been
you
a
can have-
challenger,
and you
and
can
I have
challenge.
challenged,
Yeah,
and
and
it
what happens?
happens.
Well, wait a second. Of the votes
Let
that
her
you
finish.
challenged,
They go provisional.
how many were thrown
They
out?
go provisional.
We live, they go provisional,
They go provisional,
and
then they're checked.
and
They-
then they're
they go
checked, and
provisional
they
and they're
are
checked.
rarely denied, I believe. But the provisionals are only counted if there's a
No,
if there's a
not
doubt
true.
about the.
That's
Provisionals
not
are counted
true.
now. I'm a chief
Provisional
judge.
votes are
I was
always
told
counted.
Provisionals now
We
are
only
I think it was
I-
right in the
one
first place.
person at
If
a
we had
time.
voter ID, we're done.
How would
Voter
voter
ID
ID catch you? I
It's
give
a
you an
suppression
example.
of the right to
you talk
vote.
about
Oh, please.
You
It
talk about
is.
voter
There isn't
ID.
anybody that doesn't have an ID.
When
May
you
I
talk about
point
voter
out to
ID,
you
wait,
That's
voter
that
ID
the
insulting
current
to
governor of
people.
the
No.
state of
Who are you
Maryland,
insulting by saying they
Governor
can't get
Hogan,
ID?
is a Republican. Why did we fraud him out? How did he get elected
Yeah.
if there's voter fraud?
Well, they were
Wait a
pretty
minute.
tired
That
of the
doesn't-
other
that doesn't make any
governor.
s-
Get
that-
out of
That
here.
is a complete
This
dearth of
argument is
logic,
not
my
making any
brother.
If
sense.
you guys had
Yeah, I can
candidates
tell. I've
for
seen.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up.
I have seen with my own.
we
I
got- we got-
have to tell the chief judge. I have seen with
Quickly,
my own
Diane.
2 eyes people who walk in who are not who they say they are, who get on a machine. It's fungible. You can never remove it. We work on an honor system, and I'm sorry, we just
gotta
don't
wrap it
have
up.
that many honorable people left.
All right,
to
we got to
ensure
wrap it up. We got 2 years to figure out whether this is going to be a problem in the next election because Democrats are rabid for the next election. They're already getting ready to revolt in 2018. All right, we're going to talk about it. It must be nice to be a member of the Montgomery County Council. Every day you get to go to a local Democratic breakfast club. Then you go back to the Stulleby Warner building and dream up new regulations designed to improve the lives of county residents. Take, for example, the legislation that requires all vending machines on county property to carry 50% items that meet the American Heart Association's recommended nutrition standards. Then there's the next bill that passed that will create a micro loan program to residents in the county that need additional help starting their businesses. And finally, the bill that will impose a civil penalty to property owners who fail to register a foreclosure purchase. Sam, thanks to nutritional labeling, my favorite snack. Here's my favorite snack, Sam. It has 13 grams of fat, 20% of the daily value of, and 2% cholesterol, sodium, and carbohydrates. Why is George Leventhal wanting to deny me my favorite snack?
Can I see that a
Yeah,
second?
you can see that, Sam.
I want to
Sugar.
tell you guys that this is also
You can see that we got lots of
My
snacks
favorite
here.
snack.
This,
And George
this is
Leventhal
what
cares
people
about
really
my
like
health.
to eat. They don't want to eat cardboard. They want to eat real food, Sam.
Leventhal cares about our health.
Oh, Leventhal cares about
And
it.
all this bill does on
Yeah,
county
this-
land is give people a choice. What's wrong with choice?
Here's-
you
here's-
guys always rail about
All right.
choice. Now you got choice
Sam,
and you're complaining.
I did
don't
a
get it.
poll of all the crew working here today. M&Ms and Oreos were number 1. Celery was not in the
Well, that's because
not in the
everybody
running.
here has good
This is
taste.
what you get.
It's a
and it-
ridiculous thing. Honest to God, here, have some.
This is
Have
what
some.
you get in a nanny state.
All right, let's
Instead of
go
doing
to
their job.
Let's go to talk about the next topic. Diane, the county made a big deal of its bill to protect neighborhoods from foreclosure properties. But the fact of the matter is, the county bill is identical to state law that's been in effect since 2012. Explain to me how Tom Hucker and the county council hope to achieve anything from this duplicative and redundant legislation except the registration fee that somebody has to pay when they register their property.
Well, you presupposed my answer. There's really nothing to it. They will get the registration fee. It's redundant. It's just one more vivid example of how term limits cannot come soon enough to this county.
If they're really concerned about foreclosure properties and the fact that they remain vacant, you know what they can do? They can change the law to speed up the process. The judicial process that we have now is a nightmare. It can take 15 months. In Prince George's County, it can take 2 years between the time a property is noticed for foreclosure and the time that it is certified and completed. That's a ridiculous amount of time. The only people that are getting hurt are the lenders who made bad loans and the county residents who are losing tax revenue from these properties that are staying vacant.
This is a
Absolutely.
shocking
It's-
development, because what you're saying is that the state beat Montgomery County at doing something stupid.
The state did appropriately what it needed to do. Evidently, though, Montgomery County Council believed that it needed to take a step up. We're talking about protecting all our property values. And if in fact you have vacant properties too long and there are associated fees that are not being covered, they're trying to give loopholes. Does the bill have to be adjusted?
It was
Does
done
the
in
bill have to be
2012?
adjusted?
Casey,
Maybe it does.
You want a
The
house
bottom line,
next
we
to you
still
vacant
need to
for 2
protect our
years,
properties.
No, I don't.
With the weeds and the
No,
rats.
I don't. But
So what are you going to do about
this
it?
registration,
What's your answer?
this
But
registration will not solve that problem. The registration is already mandated by state law. All this is doing is putting another $50 into the county council's coffers because they figured out that they can force the registration.
And they
But
wanna
state law, if
identical
the
to-
state's not
it's
enforcing it,
identical to
then you
state
have
law.
Montgomery County enforce it.
Oh, come on. Listen,
all you gotta
you're doing
do
is
is call up
registering.
county
You're
government.
registering a property.
It still requires
penalty-
you to register, and still there's a fee attached to it.
Guys,
you
oh,
have
guys.
to in fact
Today-
protect property
okay.
rights.
Today, if you
Today.
have a house
Yeah.
where there's weeds in the yard, et cetera, et cetera, you call up county government 311 and you complain about it.
Right?
And somebody from county government shows up and they mow the lawn. And then they bill the appropriate party.
They bill the
Okay,
appropriate.
so
But
I'm glad we found somebody to cut the grass,
No,
Sam.
the problem, Sam, is that because we have a judicial foreclosure system, and because of the structure that was imposed, it takes a long period of
does.
time to weed its way through the
But
foreclosure
you're
system.
talking
that's
about
another issue.
from sale of a foreclosed
Yeah, that's another
property
issue.
to registration of the property.
You're supposed to do it within 30 days.
So
of the
clearly, what
sale
ought
of
to
the
happen? They
property.
ought to
Say-
do
of-
something.
Of the settlement of
when
the
you're
property.
when you sell the property on the courthouse
Correct.
steps, within 30 days you're supposed to have it registered. That's not the issue. That's what.
Well, what's
the
wrong
ca-
with that?
It's already been required.
Well, then somebody needs to enforce what's
No,
there
what they
already.
ought to do is they ought to expedite the process.
Wait, I
like
want to go.
Casey
I want to go.
said,
To, I want to go to
instead
the,
of doing
the-
legislation.
I
they
want to
don't
talk
need.
about micro loans because this is another ridiculous thing for government to be involved in. Elbridge, do you watch 60 Minutes?
A little.
Apparently, Roger Berliner, Nancy Navarro, and Tom Hucker do, because there was a story a couple weeks ago about how successful microloan programs were in developing countries to help start small businesses. Unfortunately, what they forgot about and didn't realize was this new peer-to-peer economy revolutioning the third world is for the most part in the private sector. They also missed the part that discussed the fact that the credit of the microloan borrowers is usually low and their risk of default is high. So we're going to turn the county government into a collection agency. How ridiculous is this?
The government has a number of programs to encourage the development of small business. But they find when they're developing the resources, these folks have difficulty getting the capital to maintain and start those businesses on an adequate level to sustain themselves. As you know, the SBA programs have been cut back and it's more difficult for them to reach out. This way, it may not be the best solution, but it is a step forward.
I would say for
In
the
a county
past,
that
wait,
doesn't have a single elected business person in it,
I know.
I am astounded at their
Jerry?
for
expertise
the
in
past
business.
20 years,
Wrap it up, 'cause we
for
gotta
the
go.
past 20 years, the SBA has had a program that absolutely is identical to what the council just passed. The problem is that Berliner didn't even know it was there, that it existed.
The problem is government shouldn't be in the business of being a lender. When we come back from this short break, is a regional tax necessary to save the bloated and inefficient metro system? Stay tuned and find out. And welcome back. I actually think I got a rise out of Jerry Cave during the break. A report issued this week by the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments concluded that a regional sales tax is the best way to raise the billions of dollars that Metro needs in coming years. This report follows the recommendation issued by Metro General Manager Paul Wiedefeld aimed at saving the cash-strapped subway system from financial and operational ruin. Elbridge Metro Board Chairman Jack Evans has proposed a 1% sales tax to save the ailing system. What are the chances that all three jurisdictions are going to approve that?
snowball's chance in hell. I mean, let's be honest. I don't think the provisions that either Montgomery or the Virginia side will like, won't the Prince George's side won't like. And so you can find this will be very difficult without a whole lot of amendments and tweaking that this sales tax can go through.
Well, Virginia's upset because there are more riders in Virginia, and they think it's unfair. That,
But less population.
well, but there are more
How do you figure
riders.
they have less population?
We have 1 million people here in Montgomery County.
Well, they got 1 million in Fairfax.
Okay, so proportionately speaking,
They don't count for as much. I get it.
it's
They
all,
don't
of course
drive
not.
in.
They're on the other side of the river.
Yeah.
Proportionately speaking, tourism spends $8 billion here in D.C. as of 2015. $8 billion. 1% of that is how much? $800 billion. What is $8 billion the figure? So what's 1% of $8 billion, math geniuses? That itself would sustain Metro. We need this tax. I'm very proud of D.C., and it upsets me that people come into this area and can't get around.
Well, Sam,
much
I got a
less the
question for
residents
you.
can't get
When
around.
Bob Smith, who was a panelist on this show, was also on the Metro board, he argued that the reason Metro was losing money year after year was because of the sweetheart deals that it had with labor and its inefficiencies in the way it was run.
I agree with him. However, today is today. Yesterday was yesterday.
Look,
And
now we
that's-
have
and
a
that's-
system.
Donald Trump is making the Metro great because when he cuts back the size of government, there's going to be so many fewer people that are riding on. They can take a couple of those trains.
We have the
and
best
farm
economy in
them
the
out.
United States. We should encourage it to grow.
I
And we
do
need good
agree.
public
But the que-
transportation.
I do agree, but you got to
the
get your
question- the
politicians
que-
to agree with that.
Not a
The
I'm
question.
a rider.
The only
I
way to-
agree with
the
you.
only
Look,
way
how
to
many
make the
years have
system-
we failed to fund Metro the way with a deal between Maryland, D.C., and Virginia, where the Fed finally stepped in earlier last year and said, if you guys don't get your act together for proper funding, we're reducing federal funding for Metro. This is an
But
old
you got to talk to
story.
our governor about that, and I don't think our governor's willing to ante
Well,
up
Maybe
the
we
money.
ought to run it better first.
Well, I don't
I
disagree
think the
with
new
that.
administration is
But I
trying to
also
do
don't
it.
want to see Metro employees hit on the line, and I don't want to see the red line shut down like it was a few days ago. It was terrible. It was bad for everybody.
It is bad for
We've
everybody.
got to resolve the issue. The 1% tax will help do that.
Tax,
problem
tax,
is getting
tax.
everybody
It's
to
always your
agree with
answer,
it.
Yeah,
Sam.
and they can't just
You're a
keep
nice
throwing
guy
money
other
at
than
it.
that.
Every single answer is taxation. Why can't it be?
I do not
create
Because
believe
Trump
more
won't
every
efficient
sign a
answer.
letter, a presidential order to giving them more money.
Well,
Sam,
but that's what he just said.
She just got in town.
Why not?
I
why
bet
not-
the letter signer before.
See?
Sam, the issue is the system as it's constructed now is inefficient and needs to be changed. What's the best model for running a subway system in this jurisdiction?
I don't know.
Is to create an
Paris.
independent authority.
Well, that's not a bad idea either.
Not arguing.
But the problem is what Elbridge is saying. You can't get the three jurisdictions to agree to anything, and because of that, we all get hurt. It's politician, instead of doing the right thing and resolving the issue.
Well, this is
Well, since most of them are Democrats in both jurisdictions, I can understand the
I
problem.
mean, you can,
Spoken like a true
you can tell the
Republican.
depth, you can tell the
no,
depths
just
of the,
spoken by somebody telling something that's true.
You
You're
can tell
right.
by the depths of the problem because labor thinks that the general manager Paul Wiedefeld is trying to blame all the problems on them, and then there's the issue of the deferred maintenance and capital expenses which haven't been addressed, and he's trying to fix.
Well, of course they're upset with him. He proposed a zero increase in pay or a reduction in pay. That's why the unions are upset against him. But meanwhile, where's their efficiency?
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, the fact is that Wiedefeld has been the first general manager to come in and to enforce regulations and to fire people and supervisors who falsified reports and falsified safety records.
And we need to
Okay,
help them.
those are supervisors. The point is, and I'm a labor guy, if you want us to participate, bring us to the table. Let us participate in the planning of this. Don't dictate to us what has to happen if you're not down there with the troops who have to do the job. We all need to understand it needs to change. But to change, you need everybody's input.
And the only change we're hearing about is just adding another tax, throwing more money at it, and if you don't fix the structural problem, you can throw the money at it you
Labor's
want.
already been protesting about some changes. Again, because they're being dictated to, and they would prefer really to say, let our leadership work with your leadership to come up with a great plan. And I think that plan needs to also have some financial backers, financial managers in there to say, this is what this system needs.
The people who don't have a chair at the table are the citizens, because we have these.
Well, they do vote. They vote by not. They do vote by not taking Metro, and the ridership drop.
Yeah, but they're then going to get socked with Sam's tax over there.
Well, the ridership is declining, and the fact is we need the Metro system in this area, because otherwise traffic is going to choke us all, and
It's unbelievable
our
that we can
economy
have.
will be affected, our efficiencies will be affected, our family and daily lives will be affected.
Our growth
so
and
we've
our
got to
income
find a
and wages
solution
and-
to this problem.
Listen, we can drop a missile down a chimney 20 miles away, and they can't figure out to maybe move some of the industries and entities out instead of in, so everybody's going in the same direction.
Well, that's smart growth. Everything's coming back in.
We're going.
Look at
Well,
all
we
the
can
development
debate.
around
We
the
can
metro
debate
site,
this. Just
including the purple line.
stay tuned for parting shots when we come back from the short break. And welcome back. Now with parting shots, Sam Statland.
My parting shot goes to the Maryland legislature, who for 16 years has failed to pass a bill introduced by Delegate Dumas that requires, in a situation of a woman being raped, joint custody or the rapist's ability to interfere with how that child is raised. It's absolutely disgusting and it's disgraceful. The last panel was all male, not one woman participated. Come on, Mr. Miller, come on, Mr. Bush. Get your act together. We need this legislation to pass.
Thank you, Sam. Elbridge James, your parting shot.
As much as I agree with Sam, my parting shot has to do with the federal government and these temporary passages to keep the federal government open. We need to have a better solution, a more long-term solution that in fact protects all our citizens, including those who did not vote for the current president, so that in fact we can get on with the business of government and citizenry.
Thank you, Elbridge. Diane, your parting shot, please.
Thanks, Casey. My parting shot goes to Josh Meyer from Politico, and great kudos to him for an investigative piece that he had out this week, talking about the hits just keep coming and killing us from the awful Iran nuclear deal that Barack Obama passed when he was in office. And it reveals the fact that 7 proliferation savvy Iranians who were just about to be busted have been released from custody per the agreement in order to help nuke up Iran. It never ends.
Thank you, Diane. And Jerry, you get the cleanup.
Awesome. So tomorrow is going to be 100 days after the election, and the left is up to a pink hat insurrection. The media say Trump's losing, not winning, not even tying. Do they think we forgot that they've always been lying? The stock market is up and illegal immigration is down. Gorsuch is on the bench and Hillary has no crown. I'm happy with Trump and everything he's had a hand in, even happier now that we still have Steve Bannon. Trump is better than my poetry, which is barely decent. But of all my poems you've suffered through, this one is most recent.
Well, thank you, Dr. Seuss. I really appreciate that. I'm happy to note that this is the last week, as we go into the last weekend of April. Both our Nationals are at the top of the National League East. They had a 9-1 road trip, and they're coming back home tonight. And our Capitals, the Capitals still have that jinx, that Penguin jinx on them. They lost last night in overtime. I'm certainly hopeful that they're going to win over the weekend, because it would be nice to have a Stanley Cup in the nation's capital. I want to thank the panel for being here tonight. Good discussion, good lively discussion. And I want to thank the audience for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.